Kia ora and welcome to this episode on how I deal with my cover crop. As you can see, spring is here and we've had a few warm days the last few weeks. It's early September, so they're starting to the stage where it's just starting a little bit of form seeds on them, and ideally cover crops need to be cut down and for incorporation into the soil before they fully flower and start going to seed. The lupins have a little bit of blue on them showing through as well, and so you don't want the energy of the plant to go into the seed production, because that's where all the energy go. Right now all the nutrients and energy of the plant is in the leaves and the stalks and all the rest of it. They're at their maximum sort of growth height, and so they're all nice and fresh and green and juicy, and so now's the good time to cut them down and incorporate them into the soil at their nutritional best. Leave them much longer, all that nutritional goodness will go into flower and seed production, which is the way for plants. In the past I used to just cut them down and turn the soil over and literally dig them into the soil. These days I'm trying to avoid digging and turning the soil over as much as possible in a no-dig system, organic system, and so I'll show you there's two different ways of doing it, and one of them is to basically pull the plants up, place them down, chop them up with a spade, and then put compost on top of it from there. That's one way of doing it. Other way to do it is to get a mower out and mow it all down, and it turns it into a very fine green juicy mulch, and that speeds up the decomposition process quite considerably. Okay, in terms of the spade, the pull up and spade method, basically all I do is pull them up, literally, literally pull them up, place them on the soil, and then chop them up. Just like that. And all this does is chop them up like this, is speed up the decomposition process. They've all been chopped up now and sitting there nicely. In the past I would have put some blood and bone and some seaweed on here as well, but this time I'm only going to put a bit of lime and then compost on top of it to help the decomposition process. I did a soil test recently and it showed me in this part of the garden it does not need any extra nutrients other than some compost and a little bit of lime. The soil test showed that over the years of doing this cover crop rotation throughout the garden, and the compost and the other organic fertilisers, has got a very, very rich soil nutrient profile, so it doesn't need some of those extra nutrients in this part of the garden, whereas the other part of the garden does, because it's a newer bed system. So just a light amount of Dolomite Lime, and then the compost. And to finish off, I'll put a covering of compost on top of this chopped up cover crop. And this will make a very fertile, very productive organic bed for the coming growing summer season. The second way, which I've come to prefer over the years, is to use my electric mower and to basically mulch it on the bed, chop it down, chop it up, and in that way it gets a very fine mulch which speeds up the decomposition process. There you go, Bob's your uncle. Done. And just to help to speed up the process, I will give it a light forking, not turning anything over. If there's any roots still left in the ground, it'll pull them up and disturb them and they won't grow again. New plants on the top. Whereas like with the other method there, I'm pulling all the plants up and the roots out as well. To do that. To finish off, just some little bit of Dolomite. Not much. Not much in this particular bed. Help to speed up the process. There you go. And to finish off, I'll put some compost on top. And this is what it looks like, the areas with the cover crops on. Finished this afternoon, the final product. And it'll just take a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, before they're ready to plant. Maybe a bit more. A bit late this season. Ideally it should be done maybe the last weekend in August. But yeah. Life intervenes and things happen, so that should give the blue broccoli a bit of a boost. We'll get some extra broccoli come early spring. Kei te pai, tu miki.